NASA and SpaceX studying parachute issue. One of the 4 parachutes of the Endurance spacecraft that touched down from space for a SpaceX resupply mission delayed opening, but did not affect the safe landing of the capsule. The parachutes are SpaceX's invention, developed to ensure safety for space travels. After years of nearly 100 test flights, a laggy chute, as described by Kathy Lueders, NASA's space operations chief, is a cause for concern. They equipped the Dragon spacecraft with 2 drogue parachutes to stabilize the spacecraft following re-entry, and 4 main parachutes to further decelerate the spacecraft prior to landing, according to SpaceX's website. Although all 4 parachutes fully opened prior to splashdown, the laggy chute is a recurrence of the first incident last year in November. Is this a major or minor safety problem for space travels? Why is the issue reoccurring? And are future returning or departing flights secure? Welcome to your favorite channel, Unlimited SpaceX. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more exciting news about SpaceX projects and Elon Musk's many controversies. On the 24th of January 2022, the returning Dragon flight of SpaceX landed off Florida coast, concluding the CRS-24 space station resupply mission. However, just like the previous landing of the Crew 2 Dragon spacecraft, which splashed down November 8th, it also had a parachute that was slow to open. SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule is an important piece of hardware for NASA, used to maintain the International Space Station, ISS. The capsule is one of 2 spacecraft capable of conveying up to 7 astronauts to and from the ISS at the moment. An identical version of the capsule is also responsible for carrying cargo to the station. Both the Crew and the latest cargo versions of SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft use 4 main parachutes upon returning to Earth from orbit to slow down the capsule before it impacts the water. If one parachute fails, safe landing of the spacecraft is still a guarantee. This issue came to light on the 2nd of February by Josh Finch, SpaceX's spokesperson. During the return of the SpaceX CRS-24 mission, teams observed a single main parachute that lagged during inflation, like the return of the Crew 2 mission. The vertical descent rate of both flights was within the system design margins at splashdown, and all 4 main parachutes fully opened prior to splashdown on both missions. This time, the parachute was 63 seconds late to inflate, as opposed to the 75 seconds delay in the Crew 2 mission spacecraft. Although if you were only paying attention to the descent date and didn't notice the parachute, take a moment to inflate after the others, you wouldn't know that it lagged, Gerstenmaier states. Bill Gerstenmaier is SpaceX's vice president for build and flight reliability. We're going to go back and double check to see if we can understand some more of the finer points of how these ships operate and work, he added. Parachutes have been a challenge for aerospace engineers for over 50 years now. During the Apollo program, they designed capsules to return safely with crews even if one parachute was out of service. Elon also mentioned how difficult it was to hack at a press conference in October last year. Parachutes, they look really easy, but they are definitely difficult. We've had so many engineers quit over the parachutes. They seem simple in their design, but the sequencing of the parachute, the inflation, their ability to counteract the load from the spacecraft coming in from orbit, and the interaction with all the aerodynamic conditions of the day gets to be very complex, says John Mulholland, Vice President and Program Manager for Commercial Crew at Boeing. Boeing also uses large ring-sail parachutes, but with different configurations. The reappearance of the laggy chute has put SpaceX and NASA in an investigative mode, even after claiming that it was a known condition seen in some previous tests. We see nothing that's off-nominal that concerns us from a parachute standpoint, Bill said in a briefing last year. After the Crew 2 return, officials checked the parachute thoroughly, and they found no problem, granting clearance for the Crew 3 flight, nicknamed Endurance. NASA and SpaceX believe the lag on the 4th parachute occurs because the others essentially crowded out, and then it struggles to inflate, said Steve Stitch, NASA's Commercial Crew Program Manager. The descent rate of both spacecraft was also well within the safety margins. In a teleconference with reporters on Friday, NASA's leader for human spaceflight operations, Kathy Lueders, its chief of commercial crew, Steve Stitch, and a SpaceX senior engineer, Bill Gerstenmaier, gathered to explain what had happened. It's behavior we've seen multiple times in other tests, Ms. Lueders said, adding it's something that usually happens when the lines kind of bunch up together until forced open during descent by the wind. The thing that makes me feel a little more confident is that the loading and the deceleration of the spacecraft all look nominal for us, which is good news, she said. Although they stated the parachute did not pose a serious security risk, they still want to better understand what's happening, especially prior to another crew launch in April. They're observing photographs and scrutinizing the parachutes for clues, taking extra caution with this very critical system, said Steve. Stitch further explained that NASA did not consider the issue severe enough that it would have switched to Boeing's CST-100 Starliner commercial crew vehicle for the next crew rotation mission had it been certified by now. But it's not a safety concern. It's not an issue for the crew. There are no modifications required in orbit. This is a super chance for us to learn. I consider this almost a gift that we got on CRS-24. We now have 2 sets of data that we can play against each other to improve our models and improve our knowledge and actually make a much safer system for everyone using these parachutes in the future, Bill said. Crew Dragon is the first human spacecraft to use 4 main parachutes instead of 3 during its return trip. They need only 3 of the 4 parachutes for a safe splashdown off the Florida coast, and the laggy chute could just be a natural feature of the multiple chute design. The speculation of NASA and SpaceX engineers is that 3 chutes absorb air faster than the 4th, starving it of air. After the other chutes fully inflate, this 4th parachute does too. Lueders highlighted that in studying this issue, NASA had convened no kind of formal mishap review. This is just us assessing and doing our normal job of checking out the hardware, she said. The recurrence did not gladden the crew, but they'll still use it to their advantage to better understand how the system works and identify weaknesses that can improve for a safer system. Crew 4 launches in mid-April, and also the return of the Crew 3 Dragon spacecraft at the station currently. Parachute data are still being reviewed for both flights by NASA and SpaceX. The nearly completed new Dragon spacecraft currently in the Hawthorne factory is the Crew 4 spacecraft. A second stage for the mission is also in its final stages. The Falcon 9 first stage for Crew 4, which has previously flown thrice, is already in process at the company's facility in Florida. The Crew 4 mission compromises NASA astronauts Jessica Watkins, Kjell Lindgren, Robert Hines, and Samantha Cristoforetti of the European Space Agency. They'll take over from Crew 3 astronauts who launched in November, NASA's Raja Shari, Tom Marshburn, and Kayla Barron, and European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer. Watkins is also the first rookie black woman to make an extended stay at the space station. Lindgren and Hines will be spacecraft commander and pilot, respectively, while Watkins and Cristoforetti will be mission specialists. Like most space station crews, almost slated for a 6-month stay, they'll spend most of their time in the orbiting laboratory, conducting experiments in microgravity. The chute issue is no threat to the astronauts currently in the space station because they also designed the system to land safely if only 3 of the parachutes deploy. But SpaceX and NASA want to do everything workable to ensure the system is safe and robust. We will complete this review of flight data and parachute performance models prior to the launch of the Crew 4 mission and the return of Crew 3 astronauts from the International Space Station, Josh Finch said in a statement. Besides reviewing chute data, NASA and SpaceX plan to visit the supplier of SpaceX's parachutes and relay concerns. They also plan to establish that all cargo landing parameters are within expectations. This is not a serious issue as SpaceX's schedule will still move according to plan. Officials see it as a learning curve to improve. The laggy chute does not pose an important security problem, and we're keeping our fingers crossed to see what the analysis will reveal. Thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll see you soon at our next video.